Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Straight to the Money podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today's episode is brought to you by Silver Property Ventures LLC. If you need real estate coaching, or if you have an assignable contract, or if you have a distressed property, reach out to Silver Property Ventures LLC, based in the DFW Metro. Today's guest is my good friend, Don Ahmadpour. Now, Don I knew as Donnie, because when I was working with him, we had a Don and we had a Don. And I guess because he was there after the Don was there, Don became Donnie. But his name's Don. And I knew him while I was working at a Nissan dealership in San Antonio. I'm now in the northern DFW Metro, and Don is in New York. But we've stayed in touch, and when I was launching this podcast, he was literally one of the first 5 people that I reached out to and said yes pretty much immediately. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. You were really one of the first people that I thought of. And I know that I was in New York a couple of times, I want to say around a Christmas, and you even reached out to me, I want to say, on one of the holidays. So thank you for that. That certainly made my mother, who was in the car with me, grateful that someone was reaching out to me to check on her son. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the automotive industry.
The way I got into the industry, I really do have a PhD. By what I mean a PhD is I inherited the business. So my father's been in the business since 1984, ran his own Ford store out in California. And it was, we got to that determining factor. Okay, do we go to college or do I bring you into the business and you start making money for family? And that was the idea. As we arrive to that 18-year-old and, all right, we have X and we have Y, which way are you going to go? I was a pretty good football player, and I had a scout, and I was looking to progress my football career. But at the time, my father had a defensive end for the St. Louis Rams, long retired. And as one of his salespeople, and he came and he told me, "Oh man, I broke every bone in my body, and it hurts to get out of bed, and I got to take 30 pills a day." He's like, I had to work 3 different jobs to make the money I was making in football. And he said, "And what are you going to be, the 1% chance that you make it from college to make it a profession?" And an 18-year-old kid, you're deliberating. You're trying to figure out where's your footing. So talking to my dad, I said, "I tell you what, I'll work with you on the summer." At the summer, I was also going to. It was a intense training program, so I kind of worked there, and then I worked out at this intense training to keep my body up. And just in case I decided to go back into school, and I got my first commission check, and you get that kind of commission check, you're looking at it, and you're going, and you've seen the commission checks, so can you imagine, 18-year-old kid, and back in the 1998, back in the 90s,
Yeah,
it was a lot of money.
it
That would
was a lot
probably
of money.
probably that commission check was probably equivalent of almost $10,000 with inflation at this time. And I looked at that one check for 2 weeks, and I go, "Wow, that's all mine." My dad looks at me. He's like, "Yeah, it's all yours. I'm not taking any of it." I go, "Okay, this is what I want to do." And he said, "Okay, I got a program for you. So I'm going to put you through my college. I'm going to put you through my university. We're going to excel you. You're very smart. You're very perceptive. So we're going to watch what you do, and we're going to progress you, and we're going to guide you the right way."
So which area of the country were you in at this point in time? 18-year-old Don. Are you in New York at this point in time?
No, no, no. I'm in Southern California.
Okay, so did you grow up in Southern California?
I did from 3 years
Okay, I
old.
didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So born Fort Worth, Texas, so not far from where you're at now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mom is from Fort Worth, Texas. I still have family in Fort Worth. And my father was an electrical engineer. So he went to UTA, Arlington, not Austin. So he went to UT Arlington and got his electrical engineer degree. And I'm going to throw numbers out there, and this will help, the listeners to really associate and really resonate with them because when you see the reality of what your degree gets you versus just a life skill set, it does help you make a difference in how you perceive life and moving forward. So, my father was looking at back in 1983 to make $30,000 a year as an electrical engineer. And he paid. He went to school for 4 years as an immigrant. He immigrated from Iran. So he immigrated from Iran on a student visa. He came. He worked for UPS, moving boxes, loading up trucks. He worked as a groundskeeper. He would do the gardening or fix the sprinklers. He worked. He would go break rocks, the concrete. I'm sorry. He would break concrete, and he worked, and when he wasn't working, he was studying. So he comes out and he said, "Wow, I'm going to make $30,000 a year as an engineer. I have that degree." So he says, "Oh, let's move to California. I heard they're making a little bit more money." Couldn't find a job in Fort Worth, Texas. So they moved to California. So
Wow.
he moves to California and he can't find a job. Nobody give him a job. He sees a commercial, a car commercial on the TV. He goes, you know what? That dealership is right down the street. Let me go walk over there. So he walks over there. He said, "Hey, listen, I've never sold a car, but I got to work. I got to make money. I have a family to feed. I got to take care of my family." So they give him a job. So he starts selling cars, and as he's selling cars, he gets to that point where he's selling cars, and he becomes really good at what he does, and he capitalizes on it. And history is the history because you know how much money we can make in the car business. So
This was the 90s when he was in the business,
80s,
yeah?
80s,
80s.
80s. So he went thinking in his head he's going to make $30,000 a year, and that's fantastic. And maybe make a little bit more because there was more opportunity in California than there was in Texas, right? He said he goes my words. He goes, "I don't remember how much I made at that time when he was telling me the story." He goes, "I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I made 3 times that amount selling vehicles." And he goes, "Then that's it. That wrote my future for the rest of my life."
Wow. Wow. So when you moved from Fort Worth to Southern California, how old were you?
I was 3 years old. So
Okay,
no,
so you really don't have too much memory of Murder Worth.
no, except visiting grandparents on you have to go visit for Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving and stuff like that, but that's about it.
Any of them still here?
Yeah, they're still in Fort Worth. Yes, yeah. I would see him when I was in San Antonio. I'd go and see him periodically. I drive
Okay,
over.
wow. What do you know what businesses they were involved in and what how they made their money?
So my grandmother was a registered nurse. She had a degree as well. She was a registered nurse for a hospital. In her retirement, she became a cafeteria chef. So she was cooking for the high school, the local high school in Burleson. Then my grandfather, he was 21 years naval officer. So he was in the Korean War and retired after 21 years of an officer. He went into the post office for another 22 years, I believe.
So this
And
is
he,
mom's parents.
this is my mother's parents, yes.
Okay, okay. I'm getting the picture. I did not know any of this about you, Don. So uh, I now know you're from originally Fort Worth and then
Yes.
California by way of Fort Worth. So you grew up in Southern California, and what I think many people would consider, including me, really the heyday of California.
Beautiful time. Beautiful time. Yes.
And so, would we know the name of the town that you were in, or is it a lesser known town?
Long Beach, California. Yes, you know
Okay, we
Compton.
know.
So
Yeah.
Compton's right down the street. Inglewood, it's right there. So yes, Long Beach, California.
Were you in a tough neighborhood growing up, or was it
Very
very,
tough.
very tough? Okay.
Yeah, very tough. So like navigating New York is not a big deal. It doesn't bother me.
Okay, so now I'm getting. Wow. So your teenage years was this like mid '90s?
Correct. So
Okay, so you were there for Rodney King riots. You were there for.
I was in Long Beach. True story. I was in Long Beach, posted up in my uncle's apartment, and he had a rifle pointed at the door.
Wow.
Yep. And all of us.
Okay.
So I had my younger brother at the time. My youngest brother wasn't born. My mom and my dad was at work, and he was sitting on the couch with a rifle pointed at the door. Said, "I hope it doesn't happen to us."
So if I'm a fly on the wall and I'm seeing 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old Don, are you, the football crowd, maybe cheerleaders, are you studying all the time? Are you in the gym all the time? Are you out in the streets? Where are you? Because it doesn't seem like it's the safest neighborhood.
Well, okay, so let me. There was a mass production progression in income my father got. So my father got promoted because he was really good at what he does.
Uh-huh.
So he wasn't just a car salesman; he became sales manager, general sales manager. He moved
Right.
very quickly, and not as quickly as he thought, just because he's an immigrant. So, but he moved pretty quickly. And because he moved pretty quickly, he was very successful. He made a lot of money. So we moved to South Orange County, which is
Oh,
Mission Viejo. So
yeah.
yeah, much better, more prominent.
This is
You
like
know,
high school time frame or middle school
this is
when.
high school. No, this is high school time frame. So now
Okay.
high school, I'm in a very lavish area. So it's
Wow.
very different, completely different. I mean, I could walk to school, not a big deal. Mom didn't care. In Long Beach, completely different. Like you can't walk outside. She was afraid for me to walk outside, type of things.
I have so many questions. So you were going from Long Beach to what was the name of the upscale?
Yeah, Mission Viejo.
Mission Viejo. Were you aware? Because I know you're young. You're going from middle school to high school. Were you aware our family's doing like better? Like we're doing
Yeah.
great. We're doing good beforehand, or was it kind of like now looking back, you see, oh well, things were changing.
Well, see that, and you know what? Actually, speak to this. I talk to my father every day. My dad is my best friend. So, and he loves to hear about the business. He's retired now in San Antonio. So, but we talk about the business, and we were talking about the other day about the value of the dollar. And he's like, man, when you boys were young, I wish I put you guys to work for minimum wage because then you guys would have a little bit better of sense. So, in all honesty, and I'm going to be very honest with you, the only thing I knew is I was safe by the area. Monetarily, I didn't think anything of it until I was about 16, 17. Then my dad coming with a demo, and my mom has a demo, and we're living in this big house with a pool and jacuzzi. I have a room built in the backyard. Then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we got money. Okay, so it just kind of started, but at that point, I'm already at my tail end of my high school, my teenage years. So I'm already like, oh man, I kind of missed the boat on taking advantage of it. And then, and also not knowing the value of the dollar, I'm going right, and then I segued right into the car business to make that kind of money. Oof, easy come, easy go.
So did you, because you had one immigrant parent and one, the mom is from Fort
Texas.
Worth. Did you feel like you had an immigrant mentality, or did you feel like I'm just 100% American growing up?
So moving to Mission Viejo, I found a Persian community. So that one of the kids came to me and goes, "Hey, your last name?" I was sitting in the hallway. I was alone. I had no friends. I didn't go to middle school there or kindergarten, so I knew nobody. So I'm sitting there, and he comes over. "Oh, you're Ahmadpour." I go, "Ahmadpour? Yeah, it's my last name. What's up?" He's like, "Well," he said it with an accent, and I said, "Huh?" I go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, my last name is Ahmadpour. What? And he goes, "Yeah, you're Persian." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, hey, you got to come hang out with us." So it was kind of like I was good friends with everybody. So whether you were Gothic, you were band, whether you were a football player, whether didn't matter, Persian, Asian, and the rave crew because the rave was coming up at that time. Um, a raver or whatnot, skater, didn't matter. We were always good with everybody. So I'd walk through the halls, and be like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, da 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 da. I see you this period. I see you that period.
That's
Yeah.
good. It was actually a status symbol in a way. You were exotic.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It did grow. Yeah, you have those different features, so everybody's like, "Oh, okay, he's one of them. All right, whatever."
This is so interesting because I grew up in a town called Caldwell, New Jersey. Looking back, I have such a great perspective, but while I was going through it, I felt like such an outsider because my mom is half Japanese. My dad is, multiple generation Jewish family, survivor of the Holocaust on his mom's side, and dad's side, multiple generation Jewish family from New York, and, Eastern European, Polish, right? And I grew up in the most Italian American neighborhood possible.
To boot, yes. Yes, I've been there many times. Yes.
Okay, I'm not gonna say these people's names because these are real people,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like let me just throw out some first names like Lucia, Davino, like, and then a last name to boot, like names you would not hear in any other part of the country. I'm not making these names up.
Right,
And
right,
here,
right.
by the way, we had every crime family in my hometown, and they were
Yes.
well off. Okay, they were doing well. Um, they were like, "What's up with the house on the hill that has no houses around it, but they got the long driveway?"
You
But
got a bunch of cars going in and out late at night, sometimes in the middle of the night. What's going on?
yeah, what's going on there? Their name is oddly, Colombo, but, huh. But I felt like the only not Italian, not Irish kid in the neighborhood. I later found out, like I'm 30 now, when I was like 25, that I'm 1/8 Irish, but that doesn't make any difference, neither here nor there.
We're all mixed. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all Irish, but I felt like an outsider to such a high degree because everybody felt Italian. I remember even people would have these shirts that said FBI, full-blooded Italian, with the shirt.
Yes, yes.
And so then I, ended up living in Boston, went to school a little bit, and I realized like that upbringing was uniquely New Jersey. Like other parts of the country, you're talking about it, you know, if I was in California being Asian American, it would have been a totally different experience.
Oh, huge. Wildly different experience. Wildly different.
100%, man. And I do want to dive into a bit here. You saw the ascent of your dad in the business, and we were both in the business. You for decades, me for 4 or 5 years, and I know the hours, right? So when your dad was working, did you see your dad very often, and how did you have a relationship with him, except on one day a week?
So unfortunately, the business from central of the country to the West Coast is very brutal when it comes to hours. In the Northeast, it's a little bit more copacetic, especially in the luxury brands. You have Sundays off. More than likely, during the winter times, you're closed at 6 to 7 p.m. So you do have family life. But no, I never saw my dad. One day off a week, we would go get ice cream at a Thrifty, which was the equivalent of CVS today. And it was 50 cent, I think, or a quarter ice cream scoop. And it was me and my brother. And then he'd give us quarters to go to the little machines to get like a little toy and stuff. And then growing up into my teenage years, I got to see him a little bit more because then he started, oh, hey, he's pretty good at football. Like, I'm kind of liking this football sport. I never grew up with football, but this is cool. So he kind of grew into that, like, okay, I see him work out every morning. They built a gym for me in the garage. So I'd work out and he'd watch me work out and then he'd work out with me a little bit. And he's smaller than me. So, and he'd work out with me when he could, or he'd come late at night and be like, hey, 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 come on, come on, come on, come on. You're still up? I'm like, yeah. He's like, come on, come on, come on. And we'd do like curls or something. And he's like, man, you're pretty strong. Like, holy crap. you know. But his support, I would say, out of everything, even where you grew up, support system is everything, and you
Huge.
don't need that many people. You just need one.
You don't. You just need one.
You just need one, and
Um,
that's it.
right now, I'm googling right now the Persian bodybuilders because they're taking over, and everybody sees it, right? And I think you've got Hadi Chupan, who either won the Mr. Olympia or was
Yeah.
very close. Did your dad, when he was seeing you getting big at football, was he like totally blown back by this, or was he like what, this is it, this is in the genetics?
Well, he was more of he was more. Well, I'll speak. I'm going to bring you forward for a little bit. So now I'm 44 years old. My dad is 68, right? And we took him from, or I took him from about 170 pounds overweight, heart problems, and I brought him back down. He's down running around 137 right now, very lean, eats properly, proper supplementation, very minor pain just because of age. So at that time, like now that we've grown, he's, oh man, let me watch him, because it wasn't really that genetic. I shouldn't be like this. Yeah, there are Persian bodybuilders now, but that's hormones and the meats and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, we're in America, so we, depending on where you grew up and what's going on, really your genetics play a key. So I kind of give it to more my mom's side because of that German blood, is
Ah.
where I picked up the size, and that really was more my uncles going, well, okay, he's one of us, because my uncles were big. So they were, one was tall and skinny, 6'1", and about 160, 170 pounds. And the other one is 5'10", and he was running about 250, 260 pounds. I mean, and just beefy.
Yeah.
My grandfather on my mom's side was 6'4", 320 pounds. I mean, big dude. These are big
You get the
guys.
strong genetics from the mom's side.
Yeah, huge, huge.
So pivoting a bit here, Don, when I met you, I remember the day that I met you because you had walked into the sales tower. I want to say you were wearing a suit. And I was like, oh, I don't know what I said, but I said, like, we're glad to have you, which was the
Yes,
truth.
yes, you did. Yes,
You remember that? Yeah,
yes, I do.
because we literally needed a sales manager there, and I told you before we hopped on the podcast that there was a couple instances where I picked up on what you were doing and used it in my own spiel. And
Yes.
I have to say, my sales journey was I'm not a natural salesperson when it comes to B2C. Really, my personality is, I realize this now, is more for B2B, because I'm not someone who's gonna wow you with being smooth and assuaging all your concerns. That's really not my talent. It's really not.
That's
And I,
fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
I saw some people who you would be amazed. It's like you're not really sure how they're doing so great, but they just have amazing ability to handle the customer, right? They might not even be able to speak English that well,
Right.
but
Right.
they have amazing ability to handle the customer. And so I would see Don, who would have the ability to do the high level activities. Was clearly an intellectual, but he also had that car dog, which I felt like I never really got, right? And there was one instance in particular where I had a heat case, and I don't think Don knew that it was my heat case, although he may have known. And it was this guy, heavy accent. I don't know where in the world he was from, but he had a heavy accent. And something that he didn't like, I want to say it was even a new car, so it wasn't even like there was a serious issue. Might have even been like the radio or something. I don't know what it was. I don't even remember. But we had one of the other sales managers go out and talk to him, and he was getting beaten up. The guy was really beating up the sales manager, saying like, "No, I want whatever it was fixed or remedied." And the thing was he actually agreed to whatever it was on paper. So we had on paper that he had agreed, and I do want to say it was something like the radio or something. And we're like, no, sir, you actually agreed that this was going to be as it is in this condition. You're not getting whatever it was upgrade or whatever it was. And so the one manager goes out and comes back and kind of back and forth getting beaten up, and I'm out there just kind of watching. And Don offers, let me go talk to him. Let me go talk to him. And you sit out there and you go talk to him, and this is almost verbatim what happened. You sit down serious and you go, sir, is this your signature? And he goes, yeah, that's my signature. And he goes, well, if we take this to court and you're opposing us, the judge is going to ask you, are you on any medication? Have you been drinking? So I'll ask you, are you on any medication? Have you been drinking? And I'm sitting here like, this is, by the way, middle of a sales floor, a very busy Nissan dealership, and you're stone cold. This is like first thing in the morning or whenever it was that your shift
It was
started.
very early. Yes.
And no, like, you couldn't even sense a pulse. And I'm watching this because the other guy was sweating, who had just come from back and forth, getting beaten up. And then I'm like, the guy ends up leaving, right? So problem solved. We never heard from that gentleman again, right?
Yep.
And I said, Donnie, how did you do that? And I want to say you launched into a story and you've been like, I've had to sit in courtrooms before. I know how this goes. It happened multiple times. I want to say you said I was promoted to a job at a dealership, and as soon as I got there, I was in court like 3 or 4 times.
Yes,
And
yes,
so,
and it, yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, no. So to speak to that is number one is just have confidence in what you do and what your ability. And I remember talking to that guy. I remember that entire situation. And I did ask him if he was mentally stable or is he? No, I said, has the state deemed you mentally unstable? And he looked at me like I had two heads. But I've been up against that. Okay. So that's why I used real life situations, real life things that I've been involved with. And when I asked him those three those three questions, he's like, "Okay, so there's nothing I can do." I'm like, "There's nothing you can do, sir." I go, "But I tell you what, I can shave some of the hourly rate. I'll help you wherever I can help you. I'm very willing to help you out." And he said, "Okay, I'll let you know." He obviously, unfortunately, did not have the money at the time to fix. It was either the radio or the air conditioning. I want to say the air conditioning. It was something with the air conditioning. I'm like, listen, just go AutoZone and get a charger and try it. It's like what, $10? I'm gonna give it a try. It might just be something so simple. He's like, no, it's a compressor. I know it's a compressor.
This was
So
such a great story. Keep going, keep going.
yes, but that was just being confident in that. Allows being confident in what you've done in the past and being in courtrooms and being underneath the gun and a lot of my friends will probably see this and they're attorneys and they've been in courtrooms so they know that the judge can go either way. It doesn't, you have no idea, and I don't really have a lot of idea the way in talking with the customer, like when I quote something that's legal, I'm exactly on point to the state laws and federal laws, but to anticipate what the judge will say, I just kind of throw that into the customers with like, do you really want to pay that much money to go see what a judge will say?
Do you?
Yeah.
I've used a version of this. So you don't, I haven't told you this. I've used a version of this so many times when people have really pushed it there. You know,
Hmm.
I haven't said all the way, what are you on right now? But I have said, like, are you saying that, that this is, malfeasance on our end? I would say, to use what you said, the stable frame of mind, I was like, were you, competent when you were agreeing to this? Because this is what you agreed to. And you can feel and hear like a pin drop everybody around there if it's a phone call, anybody who's in the room, because it's like you're on the edge of your seat. And every time I had to do that probably a handful of times, like 3 or 4 times since then. And I'm like channeling you, and I'm just like, hey, I saw this once before. Let's see if this works. And
Yeah.
so far, no issues, but just another car business story. But I want to pivot a little bit here to going to New York, which was home for you because you had spent some time in New York prior to. I believe that's where you had come from
Hmm.
at that point in time. I haven't spoken to you too much, although we have had a couple phone calls. And you mentioned to me before we hopped on the podcast here that you're in consulting, doing something which honestly sounds like would be a great job for anybody who's been a lifelong car dog, and a really great opportunity at that.
Yes, yes. So there's two ways in every career. So there's either you become owner operator of this said business or career that you're going after, or you become a consultant where you are advising on a grander scale. So you're not. I don't advise just one single dealership. We are a dealer of 12. We just bought a new BMW store. It's going up in a few months. It'll be open and ready to go, but we'll be at that point have 13 dealers in our auto group. So for me, and obviously you've been to my training classes and courses at the
Yes.
Nissan store. So I love to train and I love to teach people because I know the value of knowledge and I know that getting the right message and the right in the right way, when you get it out properly, people grab it, and it does not only affect your career, but affects your personal life as well, and the way you look at things and the way you operate. I'll put it to you this way. Fun story, really quick. 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I had a salesperson I was consulting for a dealership. It was the first time I was consulting, and he called me and he goes, "Hey, Don, I have to tell you, I haven't talked to you in how many years?" He's like, "I just really appreciate the way you trained me, the comfort and how relaxed you were. I love you, the way that you made me the number. I set records at that store because of your training." And he's like, "I'm arriving now and I'm about to be promoted into management." And he's like, I run into rocky places, and that's my doing. That wasn't the business doing. That was my doing, my personal stuff. I ran into rocky roads and whatnot, but because of your training, I was able to progress to where I'm at, or I'm going to be at soon. I just want to say thank you, and I'm so sorry for not contacting you for all this time. And I told him, I said, "You know what? I'm like, you're very welcome, no problem. I'm like, if you need anything, I'm here for you." I have no bad blood to anybody. Everybody's on their own journey, but that's what I love. That's my, some people are, I want to be a multimillionaire, billionaire, whatnot. My value is not money, is not where I hold my success. I hold my success in how long I live, how good I look, physically, not, and what message I leave out on people such as yourself.
I mean, it's felt through distance. I mean, every time I'm on a plane going to New Jersey, I smack myself because I'm like, how have I failed to get coffee or something with Don, which we have to do, especially now that you're on the podcast. But I do want to tell you, I had a similar experience talking about the training. I had forgotten about that because Don would come into the training, if it was just him or if it was all the managers, before we were a Sunday store, so we would come in on Sunday. And I want to say one of the times, it was one of the first times that we were all getting to meet Don. We called him Donnie, right? Because there were multiple Dons. And so Donnie, as we knew him, sat down, and the monologue was something like, "Look, you have to have," in this exact kind of, everyone's kind of rah-rah. You were like, "Look, we're going to have a good day. Everyone has to have goals, I'm sitting at about 12% body fat right now. I'm strong. I'm at that point in time, were you like 42 roughly?
40, yeah, 42. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm 42 years old, but I really want to get down to 6 to 8% body fat, by summer, and we have to do the same thing. We can be lifting heavy, but it's about seizing the day and then with longevity." And so my thought process was, this guy just came in here, flexed on us that he's jacked, and is telling us to go sell cars. And I'm like, and by the way, you can kind of see in the frame here, Don is jacked. Like, it's not, this is a lifelong pursuit of being a meathead, and I love it. I'm here for it. Okay? Because that was a dealership where people were lifting. Like, most car dealerships are not like that. I've been at many of them, and you have been even more. Most car dealerships, the guys sitting behind the desk, which is where the managers are, you call that the desk for people who are listening, are just there all the time. They can't work out. We had dumbbells in one of the manager's office, and Don was far and away the biggest one there. Of all the big people, I sometimes wondered, what are they thinking? Like, this new guy comes in and is dwarfing everybody, even like the GM. I was taken aback, but that was my perspective on you on that Sunday morning.
Great perspective. That was a fun one. I was like, wait, how can I talk to these guys on a level that they might?
You remember that?
Because every this is a great lesson. So make sure you know your audience. And I'm in South Texas. I'm San Antonio, Texas. All right, let's talk about weightlifting. A lot of people work out. Let me tell you where my success is. I'm obviously bigger and I'm stronger than everybody in the building. So let me tell you where I'm land at. So that's at my age. Here's my success. This is what I've done. Follow me. I got you. One day at a time. One day at a time. We'll arrive to the end of the month all together. Oh man.
It was so funny for me. God bless. That was so darn funny. I'm reliving that moment right now. The thing that I couldn't handle, realizing like why I did my 4 or 5 years and got out, was the hours, and then towards the tail end, yeah, there were some personnel issues. There was difficult things regarding the logistics and the personnel of the dealership, but also the car business has changed a lot on the sales side. And I'm curious to get what your perspective is without, bashing the industry or anything like that. But, you would see from where you entered in the 90s, right? Early 2000s to where it is today, where a lot of it is predicated on surveys and, you know, uh, it seems like the commission for the salesperson is in some ways predicated on all these things that they can't do, and we're going away from the salesperson and more towards computers and a Carvana type model. I don't think there's any stopping that, right? But I do think it's tough in the interim for lifelong car dogs and for people who, like myself, were in it for a couple of years and thinking that they're going to make lots of money, and you see that it's changing all the time. Pay plan surveys. What's your perspective on all that?
So I'll take it one step further, being employed with an auto group and being on it. And I will say I have a lot of calls with my owner one-on-ones and in the group settings. But the groups are very finite setting groups. So you really do have one-on-one with the owner of this group. And we both have about, he has a little bit longer tenure in the industry than I do, but very few years. It's very countable. AI is going to become a real thing. AI is going to become your autoresponder, your BDC. It's going to become your email templates. So for old car dogs, really BDC is probably going to go away first. And not to bash the industry, but people want to buy from people. And that's what a lot of stores still miss out today. Unfortunately, you have a lot of general managers that are focused on what they're focused on, and a lot of GMs have only been at a handful of stores, so their training is only so much. And part of one of my policies I'm about to release is in with the owner. We're releasing an appraisal process, how to appraise a car properly. And you remember at Nissan how crazy that process was, right? So it's funny because you remember 30 minutes to do an appraisal. I'm like, what are you guys doing with the customer for the whole 30 minutes? I'm literally appraisal, effectiveness, disposition of the vehicle within 8 to 10 minutes max.
Don, I think a lot of people who are operating the dealerships and maybe even investing, like the owners. Now that I'm in the real estate space and this is the game that I'm playing, I see people who are in the real estate space go and buy dealerships. They haven't sold a car a day in their lives. They don't necessarily even have family who sold a car. But the life of the salesman, since I've lived it, I haven't made, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I've made money in the car business. That's how I, had a nice apartment at La Cantera, which is by San Antonio. I was doing well for myself. You know what I mean? And it was a struggle. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, not a natural car salesperson by any stretch of the imagination at all. But I sense that when you have people with money to invest and they're trying to see a return better than Wall Street, right? And so they're investing it in the car business, they're looking at their lead funnel and how they're getting the customer into the door, and they're saying, okay, we have radio, we have internet, we have marketing, in your feed, we have our repeats and referrals, we have our brand. Some people are really, really big on brand, trying to be the best brand in the city. Yep. And when they finally get to our door, of course you want to treat them well, but that's the last step in the process. They're there to buy. And so the thing that I saw over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in automotive, which was one of the reasons why I got out, was that it was treated as such, that the salespeople themselves were not seen as super, super important, that even the best guy, the guy who's selling more cars than everyone, could potentially buy double, could potentially not be seen as valuable as the process, because in the eyes of people who are, this is not at any one car dealership, this is many car dealerships.
Yes.
The salesperson is literally the 16th touch. So if this customer was going to back out at any point in time, the salesperson is not super critical. And in my mind and my experience, it's not just about not mistreating the customer. As Andy Elliott would say, it's about making them feel like this is an experience that you're going to buy a Birkin bag. Well, here you're going to buy a Toyota, a Nissan, a Ford, whatever it is. And I didn't feel like in my experience in the car business that the salespeople were treated as such a valuable asset.
No, you're absolutely correct, and it's really an injustice to the investors and the owners, whether they have car business experience or not. It really is an injustice because you allow, unfortunately, you allow underskilled managers that have no leadership abilities. So, kind of some of the waves that I'm moving to now, and I think you see that I might have been one of the only managers that actually care about the salespeople, and I really want the salespeople to succeed because guess what? At the end of the day, I'm your sales manager. If you're not successful, you're not feeling good, you're not
You
going to
don't get
produce.
paid. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to get paid. You're not going to get paid. So what's the point
Right.
of doing this? And yeah, I get paid on a grander scale, but still, I'm able to make everything. So I'm like instilling in my stores a showroom culture. I'm just taking it upon myself. When I walk in, everybody's head turns. Hey, Don, how's it going? What's going on? Why? I don't run the store. I'm not there all the time. I make sure that the financial statements in order. I balance the budget, inventories. I do a lot of different things in my position. I do training as well. I train the managers. I train them on leadership. I train the salespeople on just basic sales, and I try to create an environment where everybody's happy, knowledgeable, and they're moving as one. Unfortunately, the business, because you still have those old timers, what car business of the old days was that you could walk in and anybody could sell a car. You
Yeah.
had ex-cons in the car business for the longest time. I don't know if you know this, but California is one of the only states that require a car salesperson to get a sales license. You actually have to get a
Let's
sales.
talk about that here. Because I just got my real estate license yesterday. It was a very hard exam. We talked about this before the show. I think specifically in Texas, because of all the different, you've got, Texas is very lot of land. You have mineral rights, which are elsewhere, but here it's even more important. You have I don't remember exactly, but it's either called like a title theory or a deed theory. There's two different types of states. Texas is one of the ones where it's more uncommon. Basically, like for our listeners, this is a real estate podcast to a large degree. In Texas, you can purchase a home, what's called subject to, and get the deed written over to you. Okay, meaning you bought the home from someone who still has a mortgage, but they have a piece of paper saying that they own it. So in Texas, ownership of the home and the debt to the home are separate. Where I want to say in many states, and I'm pretty sure New Jersey and New York are two of them, the deed and the mortgage are like the same. So you can't buy a home without assuming the mortgage.
Correct.
And so there's all these different. Needless to say, Texas has like a 54% pass rate. So like 1 in 2 people are gonna fail. I was stressing out for 4 weeks. Don, I was going to Champion School in Fort Worth from 8:30 in the morning until 9:45 at night for 2 full weeks, driving an hour. Denton, which is south of Oklahoma, to Fort Worth, like almost 2 hours back. Dude, I was like, I am not failing this. So I pulled practically an all-nighter 2 nights ago, and I passed, thank God. But as I was going through that, I remembered thinking, one of the thoughts that I had when I was early in the car business, just like you talk about with California, is how come with the real estate license you're selling, let's call it $400,000 asset. With automotive, you're selling a $30,000 asset, but you're selling it 10 times a month, which is $300,000.
Which you should be more accountable than the house.
Exactly. And so my feeling, again, talking about the salesperson, is that the not the government, the owner groups themselves don't want a licensed salesperson because then it's going to be harder to find salespeople. And so, of course, the government probably would be for that. The public would probably be for that. But the owner groups themselves are, well, if it's going to be a test and, on top of everything else, it's going to make it, we have to pay these people more and it's going to be more challenging, to find people.
Not necessarily. I mean, you saw the car business and how much people make. You're not wrong, and that is an idea I've always had, and I've had it for a long time. Was a general manager needs to go to NADA school, needs to go to National Automotive Dealer Association school, before becoming a general manager. No right-minded owner would ever hire any person that is as a general manager of their store that did not go to NADA. Well, why don't you hold that same accountability for your salespeople? And if they can't pass the test, but I tell you this, okay, if your store has the capability, you have 15 salespeople, you're selling 100 cars a month, and 5 of them really can't pass the test, but you have 10 that can, you're still going to sell the same amount of cars. You're just going to have somebody who has more skin in the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, unlicensed. They could be an unlicensed assistant. Like in real estate, unlicensed assistants can do CMAs, which is the comparative market analysis, right? They can't, call prospects. They can't even open a door, right? But in car business, you have so many jobs, which really would facilitate the sales process. Bringing the car around to make ready, right? Getting the car ready before the customer rolls up. Doing the video. I feel like even potentially parts of the appraisal, right? But as far as I really am passionate about this, as you can probably see if you're listening to this. As far as the customer interaction, so many people, I think, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Don, it's the most frowned upon purchase that people have to make is cars.
Without a doubt.
Because of how really badly the interactions are with salespeople.
Yes,
So
I speak to personal integrity. I tell everybody, I've told you guys in the training, I say, hey, would you buy a car from yourself? If you can honestly tell yourself you wouldn't buy a car from yourself, then what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Fix it. You got to fix it. If you want to make this a career, fix it.
I think we talk for forever about so many of these things, and I'm going to have you on because we're coming up on time here soon. But Don, quickly here, what do you think as far as a crystal ball for the future? In the real estate space, let me tell you what we're seeing right now. We're seeing so much AI lead funnel. So where you have to go do mailers, which still exist. People are paying $100,000 a month in mailers. Not even people that real big names, but people that are just in the business are doing $100,000 a month in mailers. But you also have AI land deals. You also have AI, investor finding tools. You have AI connecting real estate agents with investors, and then being able to I was speaking to someone today, fractionally invest in real estate, just like you can fractionally invest in like Nike now on Cash App and so forth. And so with all of this, let me give you one more. I was speaking to a gentleman who manages Airbnbs for people in the Dominican Republic, Ghana, and Belize. He doesn't do the cleaning. He doesn't have the deeds in his name. All he does is do the communications, and he's ripping the cover off the ball, living a beautiful life, young guy in Miami, right? So this is the power of the future, right? Where do you see this taking place in the car business? What's the business going to look like in 3 to 5 years?
So the fantastic thing about the car industry, and because I've been doing it for, it's going to be 28 years soon. Being 28 years, one thing always sells is, people buy from people. Yeah, you're going to have people that want to buy online, but then those people have the worst experience in their entire life because they didn't deal with somebody. Yes, you have delivery coordinators. We have a lot of delivery coordinator positions here in New York or the Northeast, and but they're still not dealing with a real life person, that negotiation, that back and forth. And by what I mean about the car business being generational is I learned how to negotiate from my father. I'm sure you learned how to negotiate from your dad or your mom or your uncles, or you watched somebody negotiate. So no matter how or what we think of the car business, customer service, ease of doing business, and transparency is you're always going to capture as many as you can capture. And like my goals now being with these dealers, I tell the GMs, hey, I'm going to help you get to your max capacity of the store. Let's see how far. You're a little store in Mahwah, New Jersey. You're not going to sell 1,000 cars a month. A spade is a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. But let's see if you can get to 100. And then once you get to 100, because you're doing 80 right now, so let's see if we can get you to 100. Then let's see if we can get you to 110, 120, and we'll just start creeping it up to get you to the plateau. Then let's play the consistency game. Now let's work consistency, and then we'll work on gross. So let's start offering better products in the back end. Let's offer more products on the front for the vehicles. Let's start sourcing other places. But there's no, as far as AI lead generations, this, that, the information is, we all carry one of these guys around. So anything I need, like you were Googling right now, we're talking, we're conversing on a podcast. I can look up anything I want. I have all my spreadsheets right on my desktop. Anything I want from any store, anywhere. You ask me for any car that you want, because you know me, I'm going to tell you exactly where to go and how much you're going to pay for it. So everybody has different levels of knowledge of the industry or the car business. Somebody's bought a car, they're bought a car. I would probably venture to say that the business is not going to change. I remember 20 years ago, everybody, the business is going to become autonomous. Everybody going to go on the computers. Nobody going to come to the dealership anymore. Nah, people are still going to go to the dealership. But the skill set and the dealership range, if you're a car salesman now, and I'm speaking to the car salesman right now, if you're under 5 years, if you're 15 years, you're a career salesperson, you're a manager. Managers learn to lead. Salespeople, keep pushing the button. Ask yourself the question every single morning: would I buy a car for myself today? Make sure your attitude come right. Always come right.
This is one thing that I saw with you is just absolute borderline psychopathic consistency.
Yes.
Like, just zero, doesn't matter what is going on. I never saw a different version of Don. It was the same. And,
Yes.
one of the things that I recognize it in myself, it's like these hours, I don't think Dylan could handle that for, 10 years. My hat goes off to anybody who's in a store which is bell to bell consistently, 12, 14 hours a day, six days a week. It's a tremendous effort. But we are coming up on time here,
Yes.
Don. Where can folks go to get a hold of you?
You can email me simply, don.ahmadpour@gmail.com. That's the easiest and quickest way to get a hold of me, 24 hours a day, basically.
Don, thank you for coming on the show. This has been the Straight to the Money podcast from your sponsor, Silver Property Ventures. Until the next episode, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Don.
You will.